Melinda Burt, present.
Vaughn Johnson, present. Thank you. Correct. That's right.
Second. Aye.
Abstain. Yes, good morning, everyone.
Did not receive any public comment from the email for the arts and the equity committees.
I'd like to just talk for a moment about some of the work that the Human Resources Department is doing with, in this regard. We've put together a steering committee, as I indicated last time. We've put together a steering committee, an internal departmental steering committee that's headed up by Sheba Marshall, the Human Resource Director for Total Rewards. And they are at the moment developing individual cohorts within the Human Resource Department to start discussions on the question of why is diversity and equity and inclusion important, and why should it be important to the individual members of the department. And so that work is just about to start. The internal committee meets this afternoon. We are preparing to be heavily involved with equity training. We are going to be the facilitators, headed up by my human resource director for talent management, Tanya Suber. We are going to be the facilitators for the equity training, and Ms. Suber is also ancillarily involved with the discussions that you and I are having as to the cohorts and how we're going to roll that out. The steering committee has been working on a diversity statement that will go both on job applications and the PRC website relative to the county's commitment to diversity. I've given them some suggestions, and I believe that's going to be discussed this afternoon also. The Total Rewards Department has worked up the demographic information that we need to do our studies, and the supervisory information that we've needed to do our studies. And I have not yet had a discussion with the county executive concerning a compensation study, and we're hoping that we get approval for that, which would ultimately lead us to completing a pay equity study. The tuition reimbursement program, I have a meeting with law this afternoon concerning that, and we are looking forward to a spring semester, to have that prepared for spring semester. We are contracting with 3 schools, with CSU, with Baldwin-Wallace, and with Tri-C, so that participants in the tuition reimbursement program will be able to receive reduced tuition for that. These were the three successful bidders in the RFP process. And a joint committee from Human Resources and the PRC is moving forward, reviewing job descriptions to formally put in experiential equivalents to education. I was advised by the PRC that they have been doing that informally, but slowly but surely they're working through all of the county's job descriptions to do that on a formalized basis. So that's my report, Madam Chair.
Yes. Okay. Can everybody hear me? All right. Good. Good morning, everyone. My name is Leon Harris, and I'm the Assistant Director for the Department of Health and Human Services. I would like to give an update on what the Department of Health and Human Services has been doing around diversity, equity, and inclusion, or racial equity and inclusion, for the last year to 18 months. So we just recently celebrated our 1-year anniversary with our Racial Equity and Inclusion Steering Committee this past Friday. So for over a year now, we have been meeting. We have been strategizing around what are the best ways and plans to be impactful as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion in the Department of Health and Human Services. Over that year, we have recognized 5 goals, and those 5 goals include Department of Health and Human Services wide education as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion. I believe that is aligned with Director Lockett's and Chief Drucker's vision as well as it relates to education for the entire county. We also aim to normalize diversity, equity, and inclusion conversations across the Department of Health and Human Services. What we have done to do that is we have had a series of conversations every other month. We call them crucial conversations, and those conversations range from topics of voting. They range from topics of implicit bias or microaggressions and how we might address those things in the workplace, what that might look like in addressing those things. So we have had those conversations with employees and with staff. And we also conduct surveys after the conversations to receive feedback regarding, how staff felt about the conversations. And I will tell you that majority of the feedback has been super positive. The only thing that we get majority of the time is that an hour is not long enough to have these conversations, and I would agree with staff that is an issue. But unfortunately, we are at work, and we have to make sure that we are getting the work of the county done as well. We also, another goal is to provide vehicles of workforce input. To do that, when we developed the steering committee, we also wanted to bring in volunteers and people from the workforce to lead up subcommittees, which we call employee resource groups. So we do have, we have 5 employee resource groups, and those employee resource groups consist of communication and outreach, how we are sending our messages out to staff, and how are we recruiting staff to be a part of these groups and be a part of our activities. Resources, employee resource group, they are responsible for updating our resource page. We partner with communications and IT to develop a resource page to provide education through books, through podcasts, through videos, articles, documentaries to educate our staff on, diverse issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and also historical events that may have impacted how we got to where we are. We also have process development and measurements because we always want to make sure that we are implementing things well. So we want to track our process, and then we want to look at how we're, our metrics and seeing how we're progressing amongst those things. Policy review, and then lastly, reports and progress. Reports and progress is important to make sure that we are documenting and keeping people updated in what we're doing, which is exactly what I'm reporting out on now. The last 2 goals that we have is reviewing Department of Health and Human Services policies and practices through a equity lens. So that's something that we begun. We have a couple of staff members who are experts in policy at a couple of our divisions, and they are creating protocols to look at policies and review policies. And then we also have review and disaggregate Department of Health and Human Services employee data. So disaggregating data is critical because we want to make sure that we can drill down and we can identify where there might be gaps within our workforce as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that means hiring. That means professional development opportunities. That means looking at what our leadership looks like, not only at the top level, but also mid-level management as well. So we're looking at years of service. We're looking at age. We're looking at gender. We're looking at pay and how that intersects with gender and race and all of those things. So we haven't quite gotten there yet, but those are things that we really want to look at because I think that will provide us the information and data that we need to really make informed decisions and really understand where our priorities need to be as it relates to our budget and as it relates to our vision for the health and for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Our goal is to continue to work with Director Lockett to understand what her vision and her mission will be for the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, and also understand the mission and vision of human resources, and to be very collaborative in these efforts. And so that's my report out for the Department of Health and Human Services. Thank you.
Hi, Lindy Burt, Interim Director, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services. So we are looking at HHS as our role model. We have set up an employee steering committee. We have our first meeting scheduled for Monday. I think that meeting is really going to be more, we are a department of about 75 or a little less, and we are spread across 5 different locations. So Monday's goals, the goals for Monday's meeting will really be to meet one another, give the participants a chance to express what their hopes are for this group, And then, of course, we will be closely tracking the countywide initiatives, especially with regard to training, and I know, discussion of a survey has occurred. But Leon, I may be reaching out to you and or Sabrina just to get your thoughts on things. I'm going to actually also distribute the excerpt from the equity report of how you guys have run your committee. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's, again, a good cross-section of people, and I'm very encouraged. I had a couple follow-up questions for Director Drucker and Dr. Harris's presentations. Can I ask those now, or? Director Drucker, do we know the amount of the discount on the tuition reimbursement program and when it will, I'm sorry? Oh, it's a flat rate, okay. So how, I don't know, how would that work? So. Okay, okay. Okay, and then do you have a target date for when that will be announced countywide, or has it been announced? Oh, okay. October, okay. But still aiming for having it in place so people can enroll through this program for spring semester. Okay, thank you. And then, Dr. Harris, the website that you guys are using, is it only internally accessible, or where does that sit?
So it's on the intranet, and we partner.
Intranet,
Yeah,
okay.
it's on the intranet. So if you go to the intranet and then the Department of Health and Human Services, you'll see a small link on the I guess middle right side that says diversity.
Okay.
REI. I'm not
Okay,
quite
thank
sure
you.
what it says there, but it's
Okay.
there, and you'll see the list of resources. And our goal is to update those things on a regular basis. So that's why we have our employee
So
resource.
any county employee can see that?
Yeah, any county employee can see it, yes.
Okay.
They should be able to. Let me say they should be able
Okay,
to.
all right, all right. Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
that concludes my report, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Vaughn Johnson. I am the Deputy Director of Economic Development in the Department of Development. And I wanted to just take a minute or two, since I'm in my second week on the job, just to kind of give you a little bit of information about my background in case you had any questions. So I've spent the last 20-plus years in banking, in economic development and entrepreneurship. And in my most recent role prior to joining the county, I was a director of the Minority Business Assistance Center at the Urban League of Greater Cleveland, where I work with minority business enterprises, women-owned businesses, disadvantaged businesses, veteran-owned businesses, and small businesses, and helping them to gain access to technical assistance, funding opportunities, procurement opportunities, and things of that nature. So in addition to all of the wonderful things that we do in the Department of Development, I will also be focusing on providing those same types of opportunities and access to minority businesses and small businesses throughout the county. So I wanted to share that to kind of give you just a little bit of an update and information on my background and what one of my focuses will be. And I know that I believe the last time Paul was here, he mentioned something about the Small Business Resource Assistance, Small Business Assistance Services program, and they were in the process of notifying the vendors that were awarded the opportunity, and I know we're still working through that, so we should have an update on that pretty soon as well. You too, you too. Thanks so much.
then when that item is
So that's part of the vendor outreach, is finding ways to get the information out. Reform data infrastructure, we've also worked ways to try to make sure there's information in the system so that vendors can register in the supplier portal at the same time. That way they can respond electronically without having to go through the paper process. It's a quicker response time. So those are the tasks that we've been working on this year as far as the equity report, as far as it relates to what we put in the equity report for the former Office of Procurement and Diversity.
Can I just say something, please?
Okay,
First of all, that is excellent information, exceptional. And I'm looking at it from the perspective of my previous role as the director of the Minority Business Assistance Center. And the issue that you just addressed were some of the comments that were coming from the MBE community when we would do workshops and hold events. And I think expanding that window of opportunity is exactly what they were asking for. So this is really brilliant that that's being addressed at that level, and you should start to see much more small business, minority business, woman-owned business inclusion because of that. So I just want to say, I saw that firsthand. I worked with thousands of businesses, had been to participate in hundreds of workshops, and that tended to be the theme, that the windows were too short, they didn't know where to find some of the opportunities. How do I get involved with the supplier portal? And by the time you figure all this stuff out, the opportunity has closed. So extending that will give that opportunity, especially the businesses that really are great at running their business, but they may need some technical assistance on the other part. I think this really speaks to that. I think that's outstanding.
Just asked me to come out and
Okay.
double check, make sure your mics are on.
Is there something wrong with this? Because I turned it on and then. Okay.
Green means they're on.
Okay. Okay, so we apologize to the audience if there's technical issues and information wasn't there.
Are you going to
Okay.
repeat all of that?
Yeah. We're not sure. I'll just go through briefly. Rewind, Groundhog Day. So basically, okay, so I'll revisit. I have to sit through this again. So basically, we went through the process of the improvements that are being implemented this year as part of the recommendations from the disparity study and executive orders. Specifically, I'll focus on the initiatives that went live July 1st. That was the expanding of the 30-day posting window. So when formal bids, RFPs, and RFQs advertised for Cuyahoga County, We're expanding those to have a minimum advertisement period of 30 days so that there's a longer window for businesses to partner and prepare responses, bids, and proposals to the, in response to the bids, RFPs and RFQs.
Director Lockett, I'm sorry, and that's 30 days across all the bids and RFQs, correct?
Correct. So if
Thank
there
you.
was competitive bids formally, usually they were 15 days.
Okay.
That's,
RFPs and RFQs were typically 22
That was
days,
my-
and those
okay.
are 30 days
Thanks.
now. The other partner to that is that we started the contract forecast, started in July 1st. The first one was issued. We're looking to update it twice a year. So July 1st and January 1st will be when we update the contract forecast. That provides a 24-month plan, our 24-month purchasing and contracting plan for Cuyahoga County and a variety of departments. It's an Excel spreadsheet that's downloadable. So as a vendor, you can download the spreadsheet, sort, target items that you feel are matched your company's goods and services, and it provides information on the department, the brief description of dollar range for what we anticipate our spend will be on that contract. It provides the anticipated procurement method if we're anticipating doing a bid, RFP, or RFQ, and it also provides the quarter of the year that we plan to advertise. So again, if you can use that information, if you see an item, a vendor can use that information to determine if there's a good match to their company, goods and services that they offer. They also can, in advance of the quarter that item is anticipated to be actually posted and advertised, they can do public records requests to find out information on what we did last time, what were the specs. So again, there's no guarantee that it'll be exactly the same specifications, but usually it's within a similar window. And it'll give you a good ballpark of what our requirements were and what the goods and service requirements were for that contract. And finally, as part of the forecast, we wanted to expand the small business set-aside program. So we took the opportunity while we're meeting with departments to find out what they're going to purchase. We talked and evaluated their purchases to determine if there were procurements that were attractive for small businesses to compete against each other. And some of the criteria that we use is, first, we want to make sure, obviously, there's no issues with us using it as a small business set-aside based on the funding source. We know departments use federal funds, they use grant funds, so that those funds have funding sources usually have requirements on the procurement method, and they may not allow to limit the competition to small businesses. So as long as there is not a don't against restricting it to small businesses, then that's the first hurdle. The next hurdle is to make sure that the scope of work is typical of what that industry occurs. We don't want it to be more complex. We don't want it to have a more onerous performance or window or a more higher performance bond requirements. And finally, we want to make sure that there is competition. So those are the criteria. So in July, as part of that forecast, we did highlight 20 plus items that are good candidates for the small business set-aside program. Any other questions? I think we were just wanted to do a refresher. We're looking at next month, maybe the other departments on our Equity Commission Development, Justice Services, and HR, which you basically gave an update yourself, Director Rucker, as part of that refresher next month to say how they're going, progressing with what they put in their equity report in 2021.
On the vendor training, is that something that you plan to offer on a regular basis, multiple times a year, or what?
Yeah, so there's the actual rollout in response to the program. Also, what we're working with, we have a cross-departmental team. It includes representatives from Public Works, HHS, purchasing, and the law department, risk management, because we're looking at how to do business program, developing a program. And at this point, we're looking to do like small segments. So maybe this one class or webinar was focused on the county's AP process.
Yeah, all right.
Another component might focus on our insurance requirements. And I know there's other items going on with insurance, because I believe with HHS, there's a significant increase in insurance that might be impacting providers. We're looking at focusing on areas that are critical in that interchange between the county and vendors to try to find ways to do trainings. So we're in the development stage of that. And some of it will be the informal bid process, because we did go live with a new supplier portal. It's been about a year now, last July, but still vendors are, as we're stabilizing ourselves, they're stabilizing also. So yes, we do plan to have ongoing training. The other option, that part of that training when we do the webinars, which is one of the lasting, I guess, efficiencies of COVID, is that we're learning to do a lot of things remotely and effectively. But one of the components is that we want to have maximize the county's YouTube page. So as we do these trainings, if you can't make the webinar live, they're still available on the YouTube page for you vendors and companies to have access and get that information. So we are looking at that. Comments? So that was the remaining, the heart of the agenda. Do we have any closing remarks?
So hello, I guess my closing remarks, because it did discuss recommendations, and I think everyone in here has identified that there's a capacity issue, right? So one of the recommendations that I see going forward, or one of the issues that we need to address, is making sure that we have the support staff to really carry this initiative. I know that we have HR and HR personnel who are already performing primary roles and responsibilities, and we're kind of lending their time out to, be a part of this. That may be the same thing that is happening in your department, and also, economic development. I know that is, hugely happening in Health and Human Services, as we have about 80 volunteers in our employee resource groups, but many of them have primary responsibilities and functions, and we really have to be cognizant of that. So if we really want to see this initiative flourish, and we really want to, want it to have an impact, we really need to prioritize support staff and individuals who this will be their main job function, and who will be able to support, large departments such as Human Resources, Department of Health and Human Services, and all of the other departments. And I think this also centralizes that information, and so that we're receiving, there's fidelity to the model where everyone is receiving very similar information and nothing is varying across departments. And so we have that information coming from the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, and it's really, it's something that that is centralized there. So that would be my main recommendation. Thank you.
Sorry, if I could add to that for the moment. I know that I've had discussions with Ms. Suber of my staff concerning our ability to support the training effort on the employee side. I can't speak to the procurement side. I'm also concerned, and I guess as between the discussions that Ms. Lockett and I are going to have, and that we're going to have with the vendors, we'll be able to start fleshing that out in the next couple of weeks. But my concern goes a little further than that in terms of the sustainability of the program. I think we're earnestly engaged in the beginnings of this, but I think we have to start to look at next year and the year after that, and the sustainability of the program, and having individuals that are dedicated to that sustainability. So I think that we're in and around budget time. So I think this is a good time to have that discussion with both OBM, with the office of Diversity and Inclusion, and look at our own personnel requirements with regards to the sustainability.
Yes, definitely. I know we've had several conversations,
We have.
just even on the training about
Mhm.
the sustainability of it. We want to keep the momentum, be effective, and obviously when you have limited resources, you prioritize, but then there could be the perception that what wasn't on the initial priority list means the others were not important. and that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes, obviously, it's not the case. When you have limited resources, you're trying to hope you're not dealing with just fires. You're trying to be strategic. You also want to leverage resources.
Yeah.
So sustainability, capacity, being efficient and effective, yeah, they're buzzwords, but they're also your lifeline.
Yeah.
I know that's one of the things that, like, just even looking at developing our program for just supplier diversity, we're trying to figure out, okay, what's already in the system? What reports are already in there? What momentums or chains or processes are already going that we can add on to make a significant impact, but doesn't necessarily, the cost-benefit analysis is still beneficial to the county.
Yeah, we want to make sure that we have that institutional knowledge, and that we're creating this sort of succession planning. So 3 to 5 years from now, we're not in the same place saying, oh, we need to, release a RFP for training or education. We've created this model internally, and we have people who can provide those services from a trainer-to-trainer model, which is more cost-effective and also which, again, retains that institutional knowledge and allows us to really tailor it to our needs. So I think you all are absolutely right.
And that was as part of our process, that was one of our questions, when we were as we're going through our selection process with the consultants, what is ours? At the end of the day, remember, we always ask, what is ours too? What deliverable is ours that we can use to go forward and have that sustainability? So yes, it's definitely a knowledge retention. That's the big efficiency part. Any other comments?
In public safety and justice services, again, we're going to get going with our employee committee, but we will, in the meantime, before any formal countywide initiative occurs in terms of training, we will make use of the resources that we have, which is, our GARE membership, the newly established department, which I know you're in your infancy and are just, also have limited resources. Again, looking to our counterparts in HHS to see what we can learn from them. And then, of course, HR as they, are there for us as a resource in OED. So we'll continue to, we don't want to lose momentum in our department, especially not being one of those pilot agencies. So we're going to continue to move forward, looking internally, and then again, taking advantage of the countywide initiatives that are available to us. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, I'm just extremely encouraged by the information that I've heard here today, and however the Department of Development can assist and support in that, I'm sure we'll be open to doing that. But I'm really, really encouraged by what I've heard today.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. So this is day number 9.
So on that note, we have, the Department of Human Resources has started to partner with the Department of Development with respect to some of the community events that have happened. And I would like us to be, every time there's a community event that's planned, I'd like someone in Department of Development to say, hey, how can Human Resources participate? We attended the event that was in Midtown several weeks ago, and I think it was a very successful event.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a whole array of positions that are open that we can present at community events. And I don't believe that there has been that partnership in the past. It's developed in the very recent past, but historically there has not been that partnership. So I would ask that we partner on some of these events.
Well, sure. That's why I made that comment. Part of, I believe, what my role is to be a connector and a bridge builder. So I'm more than happy to continue these discussions.
Yes, and I'll bring my talent acquisition manager, Julian McNulty, into the mix, and perhaps we can start to move forward that way.
And if I could just add just a point of clarity, Jesse, I think you were talking about the town hall that happened in Ward 5.
Yes.
On August 18th, yeah.
Yes.
So, that town hall, and so in the recent weeks, Julie has been involved. I've worked with Paul, Julie has been involved. We have worked with some of the neighborhood, and community leaders in Ward 5 to release that information around the jobs that the county has. And Julie has been involved heavily with our chief of staff, and I've been involved in some of those meetings. So I can attest and let you know that she has been a part of it. I know she was out of town, I think, the last week or
Yes,
so.
way out
but,
of town, yes.
yeah, but she's been involved, and that's something that I've put on Paul's radar as well. I don't want to, press this young man here. He's on day 9.
Well, we have
but,
to catch him early. you
Right.
know?
And Dr. Harris, were those part of the surge, or they're just certain focuses that are?
Yeah, so so as part of the Central Surge, we've had multiple meetings with community leaders from the Central Surge. I've been a part of those. I've actually been a part of planning some of the job fairs that have happened in Central Neighborhood with Paul and with Human Resources. Human Resources I saw you at the event, I think on August 11th. We were at the town hall event, then we had another event on September 8th, I believe it was. And Human Resources was well represented, whether it was from your office or whether it was from the Office of Health and Human Services. But the Chief of Staff has also made it known and made it very clear that he would like our open positions to be, he would like the leaders of these communities to be notified about our
and they
open
are,
positions.
and they are.
And it's happening every Tuesday, I believe. There's been a protocol set up for those.
Well, we had engaged in that effort prior.
Right,
I think
right.
we've enhanced the effort. We've
Perfect.
enhanced the effort with this current move.
Perfect. So, thank you.
I think that's awesome collaboration, and I'll plug one today. We're partnering with HHS's Fatherhood Initiative for collaboration. I believe it's with workforce also.
Yeah.
So they're doing both workforce and entrepreneurship.
Yes, Al is very excited. So he is very excited about that. So yes.
So we have a large agency, leveraging a lot of the resources internally to make sure that we're pushing out the information. So it's always good. Okay. I guess. So I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, it's 10:54. Great meeting.